The beautiful Piankatank River. Derek and I worked here at a summer camp called Camp Piankatank when we were in college. And so Derek is a guest speaker for a winter retreat here. We get the opportunity to spend all of this time outside sailing. So there's all these gorgeous sailboats on the river. Super windy on the camera, but this place is amazing. We're so glad to have a few sunny hours before a huge storm hits this afternoon. So for now, we're gonna enjoy the sunshine that we have out right now and time with my girl. Say Piank-a-tank. 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 We are just super happy to be here right now. It brings back so many memories being here.
You want out?
We just found Daddy.
What are you doing?
How was your talk?
Good, I guess. I'm not the one to ask. Yay!
Are you happy to see Daddy?
Okay.
Kick it. Good job! Oh, I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna get it. Oh, I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna get it.
said earlier, it was going to be raining today, and it did rain. So now we're taking this time to show you the meals that we took on our 18 through hike. First of all, we had to choose which meals we wanted based on a few different things. So nutritional vitality was really important to us. We needed it to have vegetables and meat, a lot of nutrients in it. And then also it needed to be something that Ellie could eat easily, and then also something that all we had to do was boil water and pour the boiling water in, let it sit for a little bit in our cozie, and then it would be ready to eat. So that way we weren't using a ton of stove fuel. The meals we're going to show you on the nutrition facts on the back of a label would technically serve 4 people, but really it serves 2 hungry hikers plus a little baby who was primarily breastfeeding but ate a few bites here and there.
So for dinners, we had a little bit of variety. We had 6 different meals that we had to choose from that we pre-packaged before we started out on our through hike. A lot of really, really good ones. Was it 6? Are they all here?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was 6 plus Mountain
No,
House.
it's Thanksgiving. Is it here? Oh, no, it's right here. Okay, so I want to start with this one. This is one of my favorites. This was Thanksgiving dinner. Basically, what we had in here was a gravy sauce packet, potatoes, dehydrated turkey, croutons, cranberries. This was really, really good and really filling. I loved that one. That was one of my favorites. Chicken pesto pasta is an old favorite, super reliable. Fajita, this one, the idea was great, but in actual execution, it didn't actually work out that well. We needed tortillas for it most of the time to fill us, and cheese, so it was good, but it didn't really end up filling us up all that much. This is a sesame ginger. We found also, sort of like the fajita one, the rice-based ones just took a little bit longer than noodles, and then quinoa took even longer. Quinoa we didn't really end up enjoying doing because the quinoa just took so long to rehydrate. But noodles rehydrated really well, and the potatoes rehydrated. Those were the easiest. It was pretty much add water and they were done. But this is an Indian sort of curry meal. This was really good. And this is the last one. This was spaghetti. This was the most filling meal that we had. This even, like, a couple of times I remember, even as hungry through hikers, we were struggling to finish this sometimes. But it's really simple to just be able to boil your water, dump the contents in, and let it just rehydrate, reconstitute in a pot cozie. You can more or less boil your water, dump the food contents in, and then let it sit and go about your other business, whether it's collecting more water, setting up your tent, blowing up your pads, chasing around your baby, whatever those things are. So this sort of idea of being able to not have to tend to your food while it's cooking was really, really helpful on the trail with the baby.
Yeah, I want to go over what's in one of these bags. I'm not going to go over all of them. However, I'm going to put all of the recipes for these meals that Derek just talked about in the description below, and so you will have access to them whenever you want. But I am going to go over one. I'll go over spaghetti. So these sauce packets were key. They're the Simply Organic sauce packets, and they give a ton of flavor to your meal. They have all kinds of herbs and spices in them.
There's tons to choose from too.
And without them, they would be really bland. And at the end of the day, even though you're a really hungry through hiker, at the end of the day, you still want something that tastes good. And so what we would do is we would take a quart-size Ziploc bag, and we would place 1 sauce packet in based on the meal we were getting. Then we had 1 kind of like a starch base. And so in this one, it's like spaghetti noodles. I remember these are quinoa and brown rice noodles. And again, we would take the noodle serving amount on the back, which was we chose to do for 4. Then we would take freeze-dried ground beef that we bought, and I'll put the links to those items in the description below as well for all the freeze-dried meals. So freeze-dried ground beef, and then some tomato powder, and so we took an 1/8 of a cup of collagen and put it in every single meal for breakfast and dinners. The ones that we packed out, that was for added protein, and then also for added collagen for our joints because we were so hard on our joints as a through hiker. And so that's all for the spaghetti one. And again, I'm gonna leave recipes for all of these down in the description below. Now for breakfast, we ended up doing the same kind of deal as these. For only about half of them, we did put together packets of oatmeal. We had like a strawberry chia seed oatmeal, an apple cinnamon oatmeal, and a grits with sausage. And then sometimes
The grits was really good.
The grits was our favorite. So again, those will be below. And then the other meals we had were like granola and powdered milk. We had some like paleo granola that were nut based, and so they were really filling. And we would split one full bag of granola for one breakfast, and that's what we would eat. And so then when it came time for lunches, we would always do no cook. We never cooked our lunches, and so it would be like tortillas with peanut butter and honey, or beef jerky with cheese on crackers. What other lunches did we have?
We took advantage of a lot of trail side food options too, the delis, and if there was a somewhat fast restaurant within hitching distance, a lot of times Becca would keep going with Ellie or take a break with Ellie, and I would pitch in and we would buy lunch and I'd bring it back. So we did that a lot. Cheese, like you said, cheese and pepperoni, just stuff that was easy and fast. We would do some heavy bars.
And then mealtime on the trail like varied every day, just depending on where we were. We tried to take our longest break at lunchtime, and that was usually at like an overlook or a shelter or somewhere where it was like fun to hang out, not just the side of the trail. But having Ellie with us, it didn't always happen, and sometimes we were literally plopped right beside the trail, just eating our lunch randomly somewhere.
Like Becca said though, we definitely had to supplement in town for things like getting cheese, getting tortillas or bagels or whatever that was, but probably the most important thing that we ended up buying on the trail was butter. We ate so much butter. We're talking real butter. Like we would go and buy grass-fed butter that's actually like a rich golden yellow, and we added that to everything. We ate so much butter on the trail. Again, added protein, just good fats to help with our bodies that are losing a lot of fat. So butter in everything.
Yeah, and these items would usually last, like butter would last and cheese would last 5 days in the middle of the summertime. So even when it was warm, it would still last a long time. And so sometimes my mom would even send cheese if it was still in the wrapper. She would send cheese, and it would be sitting at a post office for a week before we got to it, and we still ate it because cheese just lasts fine being not refrigerated. We never had to worry about that, or butter, or cream cheese, anything like that.
We love cream cheese, especially whipped cream cheese, because it's easily spreadable with a spoon.
Yeah, we ate a lot of that. And then so we also ate a lot of snacks, which consisted of bars. We had a lot of bar sponsors that sent us bars ahead of time that we put in our resupply box. And we ate those. We probably eat snacks 3 or 4 times a day.
At least.
Yeah, usually like once or twice before lunch, and then once or twice in between lunch and dinner. And as far as caloric intake goes, you kind of have to do it based on you, like how many miles you're walking a day, what your weight is already, and
whether you're breastfeeding or not.
Yeah, and so for me, I was breastfeeding Ellie for probably 90% of her calories, especially in the beginning, and so my body was working a lot to make milk for her as well. And so I did the calculations, and I needed like 7,000 calories a day, which that wasn't quite achievable. 7,000 calories is a lot, but we got as close to that as we could and added as much like nutritious, calorie-dense food as we could. And I didn't really lose any weight at all on the trail, so I really maintained my weight, so I feel like I did eat properly. I didn't really have a lot to lose in the first place, so I'm glad I didn't lose weight.
But we also knew that a huge indication to her health was whether or not she was still producing milk. And there was only one day, two days where we were slightly concerned. I don't even remember where that was, but it just slowed down a little bit. But then after a couple of difficult days, it picked back up again. So
so we were definitely getting enough food.
We never ran out of food. We always had more than enough food. We were giving through hikers around us food that we had just because we had so much, which was a huge blessing. We were blessed by so many people and amazing companies. But we did not, with Ellie, want to run out of food, period. Yeah,
and we did, in addition to these meals, we supplemented with Mountain House meals. They were amazing and sent us 100 meals of whatever kind we wanted, both breakfast, dinners, and desserts. And
basically, we just got the ones that had the biggest serving sizes.
Yeah, and so we took those to supplement the meals we took, and those are also the same principle. They're freeze-dried meals that are really lightweight, that all you have to do is pour boiling water into, zip up the bag, and then you can continue to set up camp or do whatever while your meal is cooking. And so they were really awesome.
Honestly, cooking was probably one of the things that scared us the most, because we had a hot flame or hot boiling water around a baby that's crawling around. So we tried to avoid cooking.
Yeah. And when we got to Maine, we talked about this in our other videos before about how it was so expensive to send resupply packages. So we didn't have these meals anymore. And so
we had them at home, but we didn't ship them to us anymore, because it was like $45 to mail a 3 or 4 day resupply from Virginia to Maine. So you're thinking every 3, 4 to 5 days, spending $45 to have food and diapers mailed to you got very expensive very fast.
Yeah, so for about 2 months of the trail, we didn't have these meals with us, and so we did resupply in town, but what we did is we ended up eliminating cooking altogether for a couple of reasons. One was because it was summertime and our bodies didn't need warm food anymore, and so then
we didn't want warm food either.
No, we were hot and yucky at the end of the day. That's the last thing we wanted, was something hot, and so we ended up going to no cook. And so when we went into town, we would get kind of the same thing we would eat at lunchtime. We'd get like tuna packs and tortillas and cheese, high calorie foods that had a lot of protein in them, and we would eat those. And they are a little bit heavier, but we also weren't carrying a stove or fuel.
I was a fan of ramen noodles. She didn't like them.
No thanks.
It's a through hiker staple. You gotta get your ramen noodles.
If you want to know, it's a package of ramen noodles and a package of instant mashed potatoes, and you just put them together. You just put them together, stir them up, let them rehydrate, and you eat them.
The other thing, we did this because of our pickiness with food quality. That was hard to maintain once we got rid of our stove and started resupplying in town. So if you have specific food needs or desires, mail drops are great for that, because it's really, really, really hard to maintain that and eat well and eat healthy and eat quality if you're resupplying in some of those towns.
Yeah, so we just kind of just said, you know, it's okay, our food standards can go to wayside for a couple months. We're gonna be fine by eating Snickers bars for snacks. And I embraced that fully, because it meant that I got to eat Snickers bars, which I don't eat at home. So it was awesome.
And lots of ice cream.
And tons of ice cream. So
the delis were awesome though. Any opportunity we had to plan ahead and have forethought to not carry food, we took it. If we saw that there was a deli or a wayside or something along the way that was really convenient for us to get food, that meant less that we were carrying. And like we've said in our gear video, any way that we could cut weight, we could, because we had a 22-pound luxury item called Ellie on my back. And so any way that I could cut weight, because I was carrying the food, any way that I could cut the weight, I did.
Yeah, and then for drinks, we, most of the time we just had our filtered water, but then a couple times a day we would have this drink that was called Rehydrate, which is an electrolyte blend that's made by a company called Advocare that his sister works for, and so she sent us our whole trip and all the resupply boxes. We had these little stick packets of this powder mix called Rehydrate, and they like boosted our energy really fast, especially in those hot summer days. And then in the morning time we had a caffeine drink called Spark, which is made by the same company, Advocare. And again, it was just like this little stick that you put a powder mix that you put in your drink, and it has some caffeine and some flavor, and it just really gives you an awesome boost with some vitamins and minerals in it to get you going for the day. And so we loved having those, but we did not do coffee, which a lot of hikers do coffee. He's a huge coffee drinker.
And I didn't want to do instant coffee. If I'm going to do coffee, I want to do it right. I want to do drip coffee. And I wasn't going to carry a coffee filter or take the time and extra fuel to make coffee in the morning.
Yeah.
So
Spark
was awesome.
It was a great replacement for that, and it really gave us, it made us sharp during the day too, because we really needed to be, like, our minds needed to be sharp for having, not only as a thru hiker, every thru hiker wants to be sharp, but having Ellie to be taken care of for at the same time when their bodies are working so hard as well.
Yeah, have fun, get creative, share your recipes with us. We'd love to see what you guys are doing. So we can implement that on our Great Divide ride coming up this summer. We're looking forward to that for sure. So yeah, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe the video for us if you don't mind, and follow us on Instagram at the Dirtbag Baby.
Thanks.